Time to sound off, Husker Nation. This is your Real Red Reaction Show on Lincoln's KFOR. Call the show now at 402-489-1240.
Welcome to it, Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. We're at the bar 16th and P. Vicious second half. Nebraska falls to Iowa 40-16. And your phone calls warranted. Welcome. After hours, we may even do some big reaction karaoke style, or stream only, of course. Jeff Motz with us, Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt, YZ, as Nebraska falls. Tight ball game in the first half, a banner day for Emmett Johnson, fellas, but Nebraska unable to have any answers for Iowa. And Iowa's quarterback play, Iowa's special teams, and the big thing circled with 11 minutes and 16 seconds left in the third quarter. There's a lot of plays in football, but this was absolutely game-changing in an 8-point ball game. Ja'Cory Barney back to receive a punt after a penalty as Iowa re-kicks. The punt received. A helmet-to-helmet contact tackle made. Barney fumbles into the end zone. It's a safety. It's reviewed. It is not deemed targeting, which shocks New York's office and CBS's play-by-play people. That is what swayed this ball game. Iowa continued to put together multiple play drives, 70 yards and beyond. Kept piling it on, and Elijah, this was problematic for Nebraska. They wanted 8 wins, they got 7. They hung in, they fought, and then they got rocked in the second half after that.
We might have to consider going outside here. We're getting comments saying we can't hear us. So we may have to go out in the cold, out in the elements. Are you prepared?
We can try and make that happen for sure. Motz, what do you say, bud?
Well, we'll continue the conversation. We'll let you guys go ahead and re-situate everything down there at Single Barrel, and we'll continue on here. So what we'll do, YZ, if we can we mute their mics? There we go. And we'll continue our conversation. Again, the Real Red Reaction Show presented by Slim Chickens here on KFOR. Also on KFORnow.com and our social media pages. Jeff Motz, YZ, in with you for now. We'll get reconnected with Elijah Herbel and Chris Schmidt as they try to get everything situated with the equipment downtown. Tough game to watch today. The weather situation was not perfect by any stretch, but I think a lot of people, if you get on social media, they're still talking about the non-targeting call that took place earlier in the ball game, in which Ja'Cory Barney was hit and lost control of the football, which later ended up in a score. But needless to say, this is a day where I think a lot of Nebraska fans felt somewhat confident, but I think there were some that were still pretty skeptical in terms of what Nebraska team would show up to play Iowa. Iowa's won the last 9 out of the past 10 games that they've played against Nebraska. But I think more than anything, YZ, that non-targeting call, what caught everybody off guard was that. And then the official that they had in New York that was on the broadcast was even kind of surprised by the fact that was not a targeting call. They didn't rule it a target. So after reviewing it so many times, I mean, to me, that I thought, my gosh, I mean, that was blatantly a targeted call because the helmet had contact with the face mask area plus the helmet itself. And then you saw the ball being knocked out of Ja'Cory Barney's hands. And I think that's where the tide really turned more than anything. And I ultimately think maybe that's where the confidence level completely dropped with Nebraska, even heading into the second half.
Mike was muted. Sorry about that. It definitely flipped the game at that point in time. Huge momentum shift. And you're right. It's a blatant targeting call every day of the week. But I got to be honest, the play on the field too is just got to improve.
Yeah.
I really wasn't. My expectations weren't high coming into this game, if I'm going to be completely honest. Just with what I saw last week and a lackadaisical effort from guys, and I mean, the story of the season has been the run defense, and they just got absolutely manhandled last week. And coming into this game, I'm like, Iowa's going to do the same thing. So to be honest, I'm really not as let down as some people are because I wasn't expecting much.
I actually felt maybe coming into today, after what happened at Penn State last Saturday, I actually felt maybe Nebraska would get their bearings together and keep it a competitive football game. Now, I will admit, on our morning show, I picked 21-17 as the final score, but Iowa took advantage of some of the miscues that Nebraska had, especially after the non-targeting call, and they just built that momentum up, and they took it away from Nebraska, and they ran away with it this afternoon.
Can I read off some stats from the third quarter?
Yes, go ahead.
Third quarter only summary. Iowa, 118 yards. Nebraska, 10. Iowa, 15 rushing attempts, 65 rushing yards. Nebraska, 3 rushing attempts, 3 rushing yards. They had 53 passing yards to our 0. They had 5 third down conversions, and they held the ball for 12 minutes and 38 seconds.
That's unbelievable.
Completely, absolutely manhandled Iowa or Nebraska in the third quarter, and it started from that targeting penalty, and then just they completely took over the game.
It totally snowballed, YZ, and from there, Nebraska tried to do damage control, and it was beyond damage control. It ultimately, for lack of a better term, it turned into a dumpster fire from there, and so. I don't know how else to put it.
I think we're good now.
Yes.
Now we hear him. Go ahead. Go ahead, guys. Go ahead. You're on. We can hear you. Well, again, we're trying to get things situated downtown with Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel with the Real Red Reaction Show. And while we're getting that situated here, let's see if we can get at least. Give me a second. Yeah, let's mute Chris's mic again. Go ahead. There we go. Okay.
We do have a caller waiting on hold.
Okay. All righty. Before we get to the call, let's get the phone number out. The number to call for the Real Red Reaction Show is 402-489-1240. 402-489-1240 is the number to call. You can chime in on the chat on YouTube, also on Twitter and Facebook. We'll take your comments, try to highlight those as well. Who do we have on the phone, YZ?
I didn't catch a name, but he did not seem very happy, so here we go.
All right. Hi, you're on the air. Who is this?
Hey, it's Scott calling from Bemidji, Minnesota.
Scott, how are things up there? Is it an ice box?
Yeah, it's pretty cold up here. It's probably about 8 degrees where I'm at.
Yeah,
but
so it's an ice box.
Yeah. So a lot of things, obviously, in this game that irked me a little bit, but I'm going to go with the most recent. Obviously, it didn't make a huge difference in the game. Actually, it might have, but I don't understand with our team, why is it when we're third and goal, second and goal from the half-yard line, we still are always in the shotgun. It drives me insane to get your guy under center and sneak the ball in. It is such a simple play. But now we have Harbor again. I know it was the end of the game. The game was out of hand at this point. But like something as simple as that, it's a mentality thing. Like just sneak it in. But no, we're going to go around the corner. And then I don't know when Harbor became such a wimp. He just seemed like a wimp today, curling up and slowing down and not lowering his shoulder. But it's that physicality that this team lacks that is, it's plagued us all year. We just don't have the physicality. And then to rub salt at the wound, what did Iowa do at the very end of the game? They don't run. We can run the quarterback. We can get the 3 yards. Yeah. The overall physicality of this team is just, I don't understand that. They call
Scott, thank you for the call.
Motz, I think we're back. Elijah?
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, thanks for making that happen, fellas. Appreciate you all. But Real Red Reaction, we're at the bar. It was, I promise you, a lot like that first touchdown drive for Nebraska, being handled by Emmett Johnson, all 90-plus yards, smooth sailing until you got into the thick of it, right? 4, 8, 9, 12, 40 to get into it. But tough one for Nebraska. Motz, go ahead.
We had Scott on the phone, and he was asking about why Nebraska did not go under center, third down, close to the end zone, and why they were still going out of the shotgun formation. I mean, that's what everybody's kind of asking, I think. Why do you still go to a shotgun setup? And even with Heinrich Haarberg coming in there late, taking a lick like that and, losing control of the football. I mean, there's a number of things that, a lot of people want answers to, but
So
Scott,
to injury.
Scott's still on the phone?
We got a different caller on the line.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, the
Scott,
red zone,
thank you for the call.
the red zone offense has been a problem for this team all year long, and especially short yardage situations. It's the offensive line hasn't been able to go hat on a hat and get consistent push all year long. So I don't. You have to get creative whenever you can't just go under center and go hat on a hat with your offensive line. I mean, this team has shown themselves to not be able to do that multiple times on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 4th and goal, whatever it may be.
We got Bob on the line.
For calling, welcome into Real Red Reaction. Go ahead.
Hey, Chris. Can you hear me?
Hey, bud,
Yeah.
we're loud and clear.
Okay. I have a lot to say. First of all, I'm going to say that my favorite small division school beat Mark Gronowski not once but twice last year. And I'm here to tell you, as much as it pains me to say it, but I'm here to tell you that on September 19th, North Dakota State will thrash Nebraska if they don't get any better than this. They were pathetic, targeting call or whatever. This was just unexcusable. I tell you what, I'm very serious when I say that. Here we are. North Dakota State's going in the playoffs, working toward another championship. Thanks to Greg Bowles, who coached them for so many years. But I tell you what, it'll be 42-10 North Dakota State over Nebraska on September 19th next year.
I think it's North Dakota that's playing, but yeah, North Dakota State's nothing to mess with. So Nebraska needs to get more physical.
Well, and my first reaction, Schmidt, we talked about this whenever the game was about to go final. You could have told me that was a Mike Riley coached football team out there playing Iowa today, and I would have believed you. Yeah, you held tough for a quarter against the run. I think schematically you surprised Iowa. As soon as they started making those adjustments mid-second quarter, you were a little wonky with how you set up your defensive line. You ran some under fronts. You ran some personnel in different places where Van Poppel and Keona Davis were playing some end stuff. You go back and watch the first quarter. It was funky from the defensive line. Once Iowa made adjustments, when it was mano-a-mano, Iowa's offensive line versus Nebraska's defensive line, not Iowa's surprised. It was an absolute ass-kicking on the inside. And that's why I say, if you would have told me that was a Mike Riley coached team against Iowa today, it looked like it to me. I would have believed you.
Bob, there's a lot of problems to fix. There's comments in the stream about the defensive side of the football. The defensive line needs to get bigger and better. The linebackers need to find the football and be clean when it comes to getting to the ball carrier. And then, for a guy in Gronowski that couldn't throw the football, he was the difference with his legs, and he made enough timely passes. We all like T.J. Latif's mobility. It looks like the second series he got hit and dinged his knee up, so he wasn't a threat from a mobility standpoint. Much of the game, they ran him once on a quarterback draw that was pretty much telegraphed, right? And Iowa was ready for it. So there's work for Latif to do as a passer. There's 50-50 balls for wide receivers to go get. There were some drops that didn't need to be drops if you're going to win a game like this. But Iowa got the lead and then went Python/boa constrictor on you. and then the team's morale died after that end zone play with the Barney fumble and no targeting call. It's one call, it's one moment, you're down 8, but you get field position, you wipe 2 points off the board, and you live the fight. Most of that third quarter, it got out of hand. Nebraska's defense better to start out the second half, but then they caved. It's a big-time problem. We'll hear from Matt Rhule here in a little bit. But fellas, and Bob, thank you for the phone call. Thank you for listening here to Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. But this was a tight game that turned into an avalanche. Motz and YZ, I'll get your thoughts on just how this thing progressed. 489-1240. If you want to get in on Real Red Reaction, not only your reaction to the Iowa game, but where are you at when it comes to feelings on the season? Back-to-back thuds by this Nebraska football team. And the questions about quarterback, questions about Emmett Johnson, questions about the defensive side of the football, questions about what you're getting production-wise and development-wise with this staff. Motz, I'll start with you, bud.
I think right now, when you look at, let's talk about Emmett Johnson. I think that's been the big bright spot with this football team today. Emmett Johnson just time and time again demonstrates just how tough of a kid he is running that football. But here's the problem. He can't carry that whole team on his shoulders. He needs help out there. There's got to be other guys that can help step up. We saw Mosey get a few carries today at times in that offense. TJ Lateef, after he got his knee dinged up, was not 100%. He was barely 50%. And he's trying to do the best he can out there. I even thought at one point, with Iowa being up, well over 3 touchdowns, I thought, well, Matt Rhule put in the backup that's behind him, which the kid that played at Northwestern, give him some reps, because there was no way that Nebraska was going to be able to forge a comeback. And you want to try to preserve TJ Lateef as best as you can, at least until you find out how serious the knee problem is before you go into the bowl game. But those are questions that are way above my pay grade that have to be answered. That I'm just speculating from an observer standpoint. But I thought the bright spot again was Emmett Johnson. He just continues to demonstrate how tough of a runner he is, and him getting bypassed for not being a finalist for the Doak Walker Award, I think, kind of fueled his fire more than anything else. Just a tough kid, very gritty and determined. But overall, you hate to say that one missed call it determines the outcome of a game, and also determines the motivation, so to speak, of the team to try to stay in it and stay with it and compete. And all those things just became non-existent, especially in the second half. There was just Nebraska, they took that one square punch in the mouth off of that no targeting call, and it was all bets are off, and Iowa just found a way. They smelled blood. They went after it. They took control. They got into they not only outmatched Nebraska physically, but in terms of the mental aspect too, they were way, way tougher than Nebraska was today. And you know what? If it's the weather, so be it. You live in you go to school, you play in this part of the country, and at this time of the year, this is the weather that you have to be used to be playing in, and that cannot be an excuse. I think more than anything, the mental breakdown, number one, was a big factor, especially after that missed targeting or that non-targeting call was ruled. And number two, the way that Iowa just was able to kind of firmly grasp that momentum, and then they just went right at Nebraska's defense and ate their lunch. I think those are the two big things that really stand out today, more than anything, as to what happened with this football team and the complete breakdown. But again, to Emmett Johnson's credit, he had a hell of a game today. Very happy to see that kid get over 200 yards rushing. This is a kid that's got a bright future. There's no question about it. And yes, EJ, I would say this, for the most part, EJ has carried this team most of the year, especially in the last few games without Dylan Raiola at quarterback.
The problem going into this game, and I said this on our pregame show, if it was the Emmett Johnson show for Nebraska's offense today, you weren't going to win. How does Iowa win football games? Running the football, playing clean. You can't go and out Iowa. You needed a great day from Emmett, but you needed some help from the skill position guys on the outside as well. And Isaiah Hunter, Dane Key, Quinn Clark, guys need to go out and make some plays for TJ Lateef. And TJ, post-injury, didn't quite look like himself, but you were not going to single-handedly ride Emmett Johnson to a win against Iowa. You needed a lot more from that Husker offense. He did all he could. The offensive line played well. Lateef, not a banner day for him. The wide receivers, as from a pass-catching point of view, they weren't great. You needed more from that offense because Emmett Johnson just single-handedly wasn't going to beat Iowa. That's what Iowa does, is they run the football, they play clean football. They love playing in that type of game, and that's just not Nebraska.
One more point, I'll get to YZ's. We'll get to YZ's take, but one more point too. When Nebraska was starting to key in on the run game from Iowa, and then Iowa started throwing the football, especially that one touchdown pass they got to their tight end, I thought, oh, okay, well, here comes Iowa. They've pulled out something out from their arsenal, and they're going to use that. And they did that, and they worked the passing game really well. To their credit, I thought they looked very good. And that's what exposed Nebraska. So Nebraska, that's been known to be vulnerable to fall victim to the run game, became a victim of the passing game, especially in the secondary. And, unfortunately for Nebraska, that was kind of the other big factor of today's game. YZ, what's your take?
Well, I'm actually going to put the conversation over to a caller. We got AFOR Zone Justice Rhodey on the line.
Justice Rhodey checking in. Justice, that was ugly in the second half. Brutal missed call. Carson Schmidt put it best. The Big Ten refs must be stopped. Big Red, give us some hope.
Well, gentlemen, thank you, first of all. I hope that your Black Friday comes to a better conclusion than the start of it, because that was not a fun proceeding to watch. But before, people come on and they throw some wild and slanderous things around, I just want to say, first of all, I'm very grateful to have Emmett Johnson in the program. What a great young man. What a great runner, and really brought back a physical edge to the running game for Nebraska. I thought the offensive line looked pretty good. They were able to get physical, hat on a hat. Mike Eckler was able to, flex his impact on this game and come up with a big spot and help Nebraska get some points on the special teams miscue by Iowa. But gentlemen, that just wasn't, when you talk about Matt Rhule being a motivator, there is one big difference between motivation and discipline, and that's that motivation wanes. You saw a motivated Nebraska team in the first quarter and a little bit of that second quarter where they came out and they looked physical and they confused Iowa. And then Iowa stayed disciplined. They stayed consistent. And that's the thing about motivation, is it isn't very consistent. It wanes, it waxes, it goes away. So what remains when motivation disappears? It's disciplined. And Nebraska was not very disciplined from that point forward, and Iowa stayed consistent. They stayed disciplined. They stuck to their game plan. They didn't get rattled. And eventually they leaned on Nebraska, and finally that dam broke. And I think that was a big factor in this game, is just you saw a well-run program in Iowa that preaches discipline, that has real development through years and years of specialized coaching. And I think what you saw from Nebraska was a motivated team that eventually waned and hasn't been able to hold up in the November moments. And that really kind of came to a head. I know that there's been some adversity. They didn't face it very well. But this is the thing, is once you get it, you can have all the NIL dollars you want. But guys, Navy is 19-5, and they have zero NIL to spend. They're just doing it with some great development, great players, a great strength and conditioning staff. And I think that Nebraska really has to look at its internal structure from top to bottom and say, how can we get better at coaching in the finer margins? Because the finer margins ended up catching up to them through the November months, and especially today. And I think that's something that this program has to improve on if Matt Rhule wants to continue to be the head coach in Lincoln and continue on the positive trajectory like he's preached. And if they want to truly be a developmental program, specialized coaching and working with the position coaches to maximize these guys' talents was going to be a big thing. And I know everybody wants it, but this is really a point that they have to hone in on. And it isn't the end of the season that they hope for. There are some positive signs to take away. There's certainly some negatives, but just overall happy to have Emmett Johnson in the program, and happy to see the offensive line run blocking and take away some positives from what was a not very positive ending score. Thanks.
No, it snowballed, and the one hire you have made since you have come to Lincoln, there's two outside hires, Addison Williams as the defensive backs coach. The DBs played well. They're talented. And then Mike Eckler in special teams. They were an upgrade this season. Everyone else has been with you as a position coach or an assistant or somewhere. I'm getting there.
Yeah, because Braden, I think when you talk about.
I'm getting there. So you've kind of kept a lot of guys you brought on through different stops, and you have this kind of copycat thing going on, and it really started with Colorado and Coach Prime. And go get NFL guys to be on your college staff because, well, hey, who better to get your players to the league than former NFL guys? And Gary Braden inherited a defensive line that was a bunch of guys that had part-time hours and had moments, but not multiple plays, not Ty Robinson, not Polar Bear, 40, 50 snap games. They just didn't. They haven't. That never got better. There needs to be teaching. There needs to be development. There needs to be fundamentals, right? And you heard John Butler talk about it this week. And it's not that Braden can't teach that, but you got a certain level of it already once you get to the NFL. You're refining in the NFL, and you didn't see this young group of defensive linemen get better. And from a scheme standpoint, it's just been a mess with a three-man front, or even if you switch to a four-man front, fellas. You cannot live, you cannot breathe in the Big Ten giving up 5 a carry, 6 a carry, 7 a carry.
I agree.
And you got to figure it out when it comes to how you're practicing tackling, because you don't look like the most physical football team out there. You don't even stalemate for 4 quarters at it. You get worn down and beat to hell.
You look lethargic out there more than anything. You look like you're just going through the motions. There's no intensity. There's no fire. There's no guts. I mean, we saw that today with this team. And what happened to that team earlier in the season, when you're competing against Cincinnati? I still think that was a very good quality win. Cincinnati coming out of the Big 12. What happened to all that? I mean, you played decent out at UCLA. You got to win. You didn't do so hot last week against Penn State, and you thought, man, getting embarrassed out of Penn State last weekend, I'm sure we're going to come back home to Lincoln and we'll play tough against Iowa. If we get beat, let's get beat by a field goal or something. No, you want to win every game, but still, I mean, you can't just go out there and just go through the motions. And now the other thing is too, and Elijah, I heard you say this earlier today, the way things are now with college athletics, it used to be in the old days, you brought guys in to win. And now you got to worry about NIL and stuff like that. You have to find a happy medium to where you can not only work with NIL, but find kids that want to go out and win, put some pride into the program. And I don't see that right now. I think a lot of these kids are looking for something to, have to build up and rely on moving forward when they get older, if they don't go to the show or not. But still, you got to find that right mix. And right now, I don't think you have that. Now, are there some kids out there that want to win, go play, and do what they can for the team? I'm sure there are, but then you have to question the other guys that are just there. Hey, I'm looking to improve my draft stock. That's all I care about. You got to look at them and say, well, if you want that to happen, well, what are you going to do? I mean, the first thing you got to do is you got to be able to be a team player, because that's what you got to do at the next level, especially in the NFL. You have to be a team player. The most successful teams play as a team. It's not one or two guys. It's a whole unit of people. So I think that's what they need to look at. You got a bowl game. You can work on that, get better, get ready for next year. It's the first time in 2 consecutive seasons that Nebraska's gone to a bowl game since the Pelini era, if I'm not mistaken. So again, there's some positives, but all of a sudden the negatives have really outshined the positives here, especially today with what you've seen on the football field.
Listen, Matt Rhule said it himself last year. They weren't going to celebrate bowl appearances anymore. I am not in the business of celebrating bowl appearances, especially in today's day and age in college football. There are some okay bowl games you can make it to, but a successful season in a Power 4 conference for 90% of the teams in the Power 4 is defined as, did you make it to the college football playoff or not? It's like making the playoffs in the NFL. Yeah, you can have a good season, but was it successful? You weren't in the postseason. That's what it's defined as anymore. We can say, good thing Nebraska got to bowl eligibility before November because they blew it at the end of the year. That's not where I'm at. You're trying to build towards college football playoff appearances, and Husker fans want a national title. They are donating to this program. At least some of the donors here are donating in order to get Nebraska to that point. 7-5 the year after you go 6-6 isn't helping you get close to that mark. Not especially considering how the last 2 games of the season went. You better believe guys that are going to be in the transfer portal saw how these last 2 games went. And if you're in the business of winning in college football, I don't think Nebraska is going to be the place for you in the portal this offseason. I'm concerned about the future.
I want to add to that, Elijah. You finished 7-5 after starting 6-1.
Yes.
Which is unbelievable.
Yep, you faded, and it is going to get worse next season when we talk about what the schedule looks like. This was a navigatable schedule for Nebraska. The only pipe dream of a reason you're talking about playoffs is because of how it's set up for you at home. You end up going 4-3, and the only team of substance you beat this year in conference was Northwestern. We'll see if they end up 7-5 or 6-6, and then Cincinnati out of the gate. There needs to be a very hard look after year 3 at who you're spending on, who you're evaluating, how you're evaluating, and who's coaching, who's teaching, who's developing, and what do you want to do or what do you want to be. And your preach from the get-go was lines of scrimmage and development, which that's how you win in the Big Ten. You shifted once you got your 5-star quarterback in to go in to get weapons and surround him, and you went and got some help on the offensive line. But you whiffed on Judy. You haven't had much development on Van Poppel. You're waiting on Lenhart to pop, and then you have a talent in Petschok that's looking good, but super young, super green.
A work in progress.
Yeah, Winery the same way. And your linebacker core is good, but you have a defensive coordinator that's hell-bent on stopping the pass and surviving the run because that's how it works in the NFL. 489-1240 to get in. Real Red Reaction powered by Slim Chickens. As we're at 14th and Pine Lake, 84th and Old Shady for Slim Chickens. Soon to be 84th and Adams. We'll hear from Matt Rhule coming up. We need to talk about the offensive game plan post Emmett Johnson or even in-game against Iowa with some of the play calls and decisions with Data Holgerson. Much more to come. We're here at the bar, 16th and P, as we invite you down here for Real Red Reaction.
And I believe, Motz, you're also going to get off. You got some news to go cover. So a final thought from you before we say goodbye.
Yeah, one quick thought. I think with how Nebraska's played this year, it's been a roller coaster, no question. And you alluded to that the bowl games are not the same as they used to be. But if you're looking to get things better for next year, if you got guys who are going to be coming back, this is another chance to do it, and this would be the time to do it. Again, this regular season was full of ups and downs. Kind of a hot start, cooled off, then you get back into the groove. I look back at the Michigan game in particular because they had that thing in their grasp and they let it slip out of their hands. And had Nebraska won that game against Michigan, this would have been a much different tone, probably, I'm assuming. That would have been a much probably different outcome to this season had they beaten Michigan. But, that was a game, again, that got out of their grasp. Emmett Johnson, he is for real. He's going to have a bright future ahead of him at the next level. Very pleased to see what that young man did today, especially considering what happened in the ball game. But I think the most important thing is that they got to look at themselves in the mirror and say, you know what? Do we want to get better? Do we want to go out and play? Do we care about the finer things? Do we want to make this program relevant again at a national level? And the coaches have got to do that too. But will there be some changes maybe in the offseason? Maybe, we'll see. We don't know. There are assumptions that, the portal could become active too. We'll find out how things play here in the next couple of weeks before we get into the bowl season for sure. But something tells me after today it's Vegas bound maybe for Nebraska, and if that's the case, they could face a Utah team that's pretty tough, and they're no slouch. But 7-5 again, it's a winning record. Yeah, you're going to a bowl, but by this point you should be more of an 8-4, 9-3 squad versus 7-5. That's my take.
If they get Utah in a bowl game, duck and cover.
Exactly. Fellas, I got to leave. We do have breaking news. Want to pass along that there's a fatal fire investigation in the 2500 block of Teresa. That's not too far from Memorial Stadium. It's right off of 27, southwest of 27, the Cornhusker. We'll have the latest posted very soon up at KFORnow.com. So have yourself a good sports weekend, fellas. We'll talk to you soon.
Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt, 489-1240, a timeout. We'll hear from Coach Rhule as we roll forward here from the bar, 16th and P. You need something after that one, come see us here at the bar, here on KFOR.
I get real cash back every time I buy gas. Does that actually add up to anything? I'll make around $200.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PROFIT for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code PROFIT. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other.
This is the Real Red Reaction Show. Phones are open now, 402-489-1240.
Back here, Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, YZ. And, of course, Pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman in. Scott stopped by the bar. That's where we're at. 16th and P as Nebraska pounded 40-16. As we'll hear from Matt Rhule coming up here momentarily. Billy D, back and forth score fest for the first half, my friend. Nebraska down 8 at half. Things flipped after the non-targeting call, the safety. 8 became 10, and then 10 became 24. Just devastating loss for Nebraska, but much of the same, out-physicaled. Amazing game by Emmett Johnson. TJ Lateef dinged a little bit early in that first half. Really not much of a threat throwing the football, but Iowa out executing Nebraska, out physicaling Nebraska, and Nebraska unraveling with some penalties, but just nowhere in the class of Iowa to wrap this regular season.
Yeah, this is a hard one to swallow, probably, because I think there's a reality of where Nebraska is and where Iowa is, and it's not close. I'm watching Iowa. Never, at no point in the game did I think that they feared Nebraska at all. Even on the long run, of course, we've seen Nebraska score early and get a little bit of momentum, and things look great. That first couple of drives, first part of a first quarter, and then teams just kind of figure it out and do whatever it is that they're going to do, what they plan to do, and then they get it done. But this is a look in the mirror, and probably not like what you see very much. But at no point did I ever think that Iowa feared what they were facing. It's like, oh wow, there was a big long run there, and Nebraska's ahead of us. Okay, well we'll just stick to what it is that we're going to go do, and we're going to go do it, and we're going to get it done. And I never really, in watching Nebraska, felt as though it was an even, on par with Iowa. I felt like Nebraska was going to have to. There's a good-looking guy right back there.
Denver fan.
Go Broncos.
At no point I think Nebraska felt like we're going to have some type of superhuman effort or something to win this game. I didn't think Nebraska felt like it was equal to Iowa either, and that's really, really disappointing. I mean, I was asking my students on the way back from the stadium, Minnesota, Penn State, Iowa, which one was worse? Now they said Minnesota because of the effort, and I think we can all agree with that. Nebraska probably should have won that game if they'd had any kind of effort. But this one to me is the ultimate reality check as to where this Nebraska program is in year 3, and it is nowhere near what people expected.
At least this one wasn't a huge surprise. Minnesota was a huge surprise. I was expecting
this is
Iowa
kind
to
of
win
a
this football game.
It's one thing to win, it's another thing to
final score.
blow them out.
Yeah. Phone lines?
Yep, let's go. Scott's hanging on the line. Scott, thanks for hanging tight on Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. We're live from the bar. The bar, go ahead.
Scott?
Hello?
Is this Scott?
Gotcha, bud. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Steven.
Oh, yeah, Steven. My bad.
Okay. Hey, sorry about that. Well, there's a few things. I think, number one, Nebraska is not going to be satisfied with a bowl game this year. I'm talking about the fans. It's one thing to get beat, but the coaching is horrific. There is no excuse. The amount of money spent. How many times you have to have 2nd and 4, and you can't hand the ball off again, and you miss pass, and you punt, and we have 3 and out, and a already soft defense just gets pummeled. I mean, the coaching is just horrid, and that's the part that I can't stomach. It's not acceptable, and somebody needs to hold the head coach accountable, because making $10, $12 million a year, whatever it is, that's just something that can't happen. He's a career 500 coach. I mean, people need to realize that. That's his record.
Scott, the coaching is a real talking point. You're not wrong with the career record. I look at some of the jobs Matt Rhule has had and his turnaround and then his departure. That's part of that equation for me.
But you kind of are what you are right now through 3 years at Nebraska.
I think you can look at the record at Nebraska and say, year one, you can kind of throw to the side. That's a rebuild year. Year two, and then year three. He's 500 overall now, even in his time at Nebraska. And by a 3-year sample size at Nebraska, that's something to work with. After year 4, if it remains a 500 coach, that's when you start having real conversations about the future. Matt Rhule's job is safe, not just because of the extension, but because of where he was building this program from. But as you kind of said, Bill, today was a reality check of just how far away you still are from being a team that's physically ready to compete in the Big Ten. And from a coach that from day one, from the introductory press conference at Nebraska, preached we are going to have the most physical team on the football field every time we go out there. You are so far from that. That's the biggest concern to me, is what you preached on day one 3 years ago. Like 3 years ago as of 4 years ago as of 2 days from now, 3 days from now? When is the introductory press conference? That's how long we're talking here?
It was 3 years ago, 2 days ago.
Yeah, okay. And you are still so far from being the most physical team on the football field. Not something that can be changed in one portal window. Not something that can be changed in 1 year of recruiting. You are still years away, in my opinion, from being a team that you can look across the Big Ten and say we're the most physical team on the football field. You are far on the mark. You're in the bottom half of the Big Ten in terms of physicality right now.
Let's go to the phone lines. Matt with us here on Real Red Reaction.
Maybe not, Matt.
Okay, Matt, try back, 489-1240 here, 489-1240 with Real Red Reaction powered by Slim Chickens.
Back to my point here. That's like one of the things that is most concerning to me right now is that day one, you're preaching physicality and you're preaching development. We have a team in year 3 that was not the most physical football team and more often than not, and a team that I don't think got better from Arrowhead to now.
Oh, that was the high point of the season without a doubt. And Nebraska played pretty well physically in that game too. The Huskers were ready against Cincinnati 3 months ago, 4 months ago. Look, go back to the Mike Riley era, and Nebraska was Mr. Rogers. He was, and it was the personality. Nebraska was just Nebraska nice with hip hip hooray. I think that there is an element of Nebraska being Nebraska nice to a certain extent. The personality of this Nebraska football team right now, program, reminds me of the nice program that Nebraska was in the Mike Riley era. That's not to say they were, big, mean, and nasty in the Scott Frost days, but there is a characteristic that to me is similar to Riley and Rhule. They are light years away from the Pelini days, right? And wouldn't you like to have a little Pelini streak in you in this football program in some way, shape, or another?
You need some sort of edge, and you got a banner day. You got a 200-yard rushing day against the number 8 rushing defense in the country.
And you lost by 3 scores.
And you got smoked. And you had TJ Lateef that was just not able to make and complete some throws. Kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier. 489-1240 to get in on Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. YZ back in studio. Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt, Friday Fairbury, Bill Doleman with us as we're live here at the bar. But from a play call standpoint, I understand you can't physically give the football to Emmett every down.
Every other one.
But every other down. But from a passing game standpoint, I know you wanted to loosen up the defense and try and go deep with Lateef. Iowa's defensive backs did a great job all day long, and Nebraska didn't win 50-50 plays. But there are other plays in the playbook. As things got out of hand, some of those completions started going intermediate. It was to Lyndon Meyer for an 8-yard catch. It was Key for an 8-yard catch. You can call those plays before it gets out of hand, and Nebraska never does. There needs to, and I like Dana. I think Dana's a good offensive mind, but there needs to be more composure with when things go sideways or when things aren't sideways yet with what you're calling execution-wise. And Latif, if he's not on the move, and clearly they weren't going to let him get mobile with this left knee, there are other pass concepts, pass routes you can call that are safe and easy throws. And you didn't go to them.
And I like what you said about Dana. Did this offense this year, and I know he's made progression as a coach and he knows he's in the Big Ten, did this feel like a Dana offense this year, or did it feel like a continuation of the Satterfield offense with a few wrinkles?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was just sitting here thinking, are they continuing to wait? Well, once we get X players, once we get the offensive line we want, once we get the receivers we want, once we get the tight ends we want, once we get the quarterback, then we're going to see
it's all put together.
Then we'll be able to do what it is we're wanting to do. Shouldn't you be able to figure out some creativity and doing some things with what you do have? And, yeah, I thought today was the offense lacked creativity. It was predictable. If you what's up, brother? It was throw the ball on first down, then give it to Emmett. If it was incomplete, it just seemed like that was the fail-safe. We're going to try and throw it on first. If that doesn't work, we'll just give it to Emmett Johnson. And then third down, we'll give it to Emmett again, or vice versa. Give it to Emmett, then pass, then give it to Emmett. It just seemed so predictable today. And I'm watching Tim Lester's offense and the way they got guys open, and Gronowski did a nice job of extending plays.
He was good.
It's amazing how that team does not hold, but nevertheless.
or commit targeting.
They never have. That's just atrocious. The game did not change on. I mean, the momentum did, but the game did not change on the non-targeted. But that is such an egregious non-call.
You can't miss that call.
You cannot miss that call.
I would agree with you. I think I was going to win this game regardless. That was a shot to the momentum. But at the end of the day, Iowa's body blows had already taken their effect on Nebraska. Iowa was gaining control of that game at that point in time, but that kind of felt like the kill shot moment where Nebraska was dead in the water after that. But they were going to lose that game anyway because Iowa for a quarter.
Just by how much?
Iowa struggled for a quarter. I think there was some schematic changes with Nebraska's defensive side of the ball. They were doing some different things with their defensive line. Once they figured that out about midway through the second quarter, the game was in hand for Iowa, even if the score was close. Iowa was getting what they wanted offensively.
Yeah.
Let's go to the phones. Rock's been hanging on. 489-1240. Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. Rock, thanks for calling. Thanks for listening. Go ahead.
No resiliency at all. You're going to get bad calls. Yeah, it was a terrible non-call, but where's the resiliency? Where's the mental toughness? And by the way, where is the creativity? Where are the fancy pass patterns, even if you have to penny and nickel it down the field? Where are some misdirections? Where are some rollouts? Influence one way, go the other. The defense, Tony White's looking better by the hour. And yes, I'm fully aware we lost key contributors from last year, but Tony White, I am convinced, would have done better than Butler. So in year 3, you have a team, and that Minnesota game was not an aberration. It was not a one-off. That's just what Nebraska is. It's a 5-5 team if you take away the 2 fake wins, and a loser in the Big Ten after 3 years, and no sign that it's going to get better. And Holgorsen, I watched him when he was at Oklahoma State and West Virginia. There was some creativity. There was some dynamic type of offense. And at some point, this penny and nickel stuff and this Emmett do it by the seat of your pants by yourself, not going to work in the Big Ten. And Rhule vowed, when he arrived, he vowed they would be physical. Well, after 3 years, you got to wonder if the man knows what he's doing. Yes, we're finally going to bowl games, and 2 years ago we would have been grateful for this. But there's no sign that this is a serious contender. In fact, I think they are just a pitiful, helpless wannabe giant. And there's no sign that's going to change, and that's all I got.
You guys sound like Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah, I like it. Rock, good phone call, 489-1240. We're posting your comments as we go, also in the stream here on YouTube with the Average Joe YouTube channel, Real Red Reaction YouTube channel, KFOR Facebook and Twitter, Average Joe Twitter as well, as we're live here at the bar, 16th and P. We invite you down. You need something to wash that taste out of your mouth with Nebraska getting rocked today, 40-16.
May I recommend a Slinky?
Slinkies are incredible. We did huddle up, and F-Bomb Brian, we researched his drink.
The God of War Inception Bomb?
Yes, which was what? It was rum?
There was 151 rum, Fireball, Blue Curacao, Creme de Mint, beer. It looked like a hangover and a blackout waiting to happen, all in a pitcher.
Something tells me you can improvise that recipe too, to taste.
I would.
You can season to taste.
Something tells me there's more enjoyable ways to black out if that's what you want to do after the game.
But just problematic here for Nebraska to go out this way, and there is soul searching that needs to happen for this football program. We'll hear from Matt Rhule after our next break, but time for you to get in. We're on the air and then stream only. We're on the air till 4 over the airwaves here on KFOR, and then social media as well to continue streaming. But guys, it's like things shifted once you got your 5-star quarterback from a priority standpoint, from a lines of scrimmage. And listen, maybe you're just bad at evaluating, which is even scarier. But what you've tried to go do and get in the portal hasn't worked out on the lines of scrimmage, with the exception Pritchett and Rocco were pretty good. Waneri, there's upside too. You retained Keona Davis, but you've gone to NFL heavy. And what I mean by that is you went to the NFL to get Butler, and while that works, you've also gone to the NFL to get your defensive line coach. You also went to the NFL to get your offensive line coach. And those are some areas that are not working right now for you. I mean, you can spread enough of the blame around. What has worked has been Mike Eckler. What has worked is Ron Brown, 5 years ago, recruiting the Minnesota High School Football Player of the Year in Emmett Johnson. I think there's upside for Latif. I think there's future for Dylan Raiola should he decide to stay. I like Key. I like Hunter. I like Lindenmeyer. All that's wonderful, but
altogether it's not working.
It isn't working because you don't know what you want to do, or you don't know what you want to be. You're grasping at straws, trying to chase something what you think is ideal, and that is get dudes with talent here that want to go to the NFL and play for NFL guys.
But one of the problems, Elijah alluded to it, one of the issues is what he said. We want to be the most physical team. The other thing is we're a developmental program. Where's the physicality? Where's the development? Where's the development? Right? And we're going to get you to the NFL. We're going to get you 2-year contracts or second contract and all that. Where's the development where you go, wow, look at the Emmett Johnson, okay, maybe. I still, 3 years ago, I thought that guy was the most talented running back Nebraska had, or whenever his freshman year. But where is there a consistent amount of development where you're going, oh, I can see this. I can see what they're doing.
I mean, I saw a front seven this year defensively.
Got destroyed.
That regressed. I saw an offensive line that remained the same throughout the year. I saw a team as a whole that I can't pick out an area of the team that got better as the year went on. I'm searching through everything. Tight end production dropped. Offensive line production became very spotty and hit or miss. Like today's game's a great example. I thought the first quarter and a half was the best quarter and a half this offensive line has played all year long.
I agree with you.
And then what happened in the second half? They regressed back to what we know about this offensive line, which is inconsistency. I thought your quarterback play regressed. Emmett Johnson probably got better, but I think that was more because offensively, stylistically, you realized what your best option was and you changed what you were. Defensively, your defensive line didn't get better. If not, they regressed. Linebackers, the same story. Secondary was steady. Your special teams kind of stopped making impact plays as the season went on. I just can't find an area of this team where I'm like, wow, they sure did get better throughout the 12 weeks of this season and play a lot better against Iowa than they did against Cincinnati. I can't find it.
Chad checking in from California. Tad, thanks for calling. Welcome into Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. We're live here at the bar. The bar, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit perturbed, like everybody, about Nebraska, but it's not time to start firing coaches. I think the biggest thing that we used to have was the tradition of 30 years at Nebraska coaching. We have gone through that carousel for 20 years, and we don't need to be doing that anymore. We need to start recruiting, and I mean recruiting, but get an identity, which is pounding the damn football. That's what we all have. And if Rhule wants to transfer, so be it. If these kids want to transfer, so be it. But we need to get a nucleus of people that really know how to run a football and pound it like we used to do, and quit with the West Coast offense, quit with all the bull crap. Get the damn program back to where it was. I'm sick and tired of all this stuff and everybody pointing fingers. Stick with what we got, but get this coach to say publicly that he is going to pound the football. And that's period. Thanks, guys.
Take care, brother. Have a good holiday weekend.
The one thing I'll push back on that is you want consistency in your coaching staff once you have the right coaches.
Right.
And this is a question I've asked for 3 weeks now. What's more important?
Do you have the right coaches?
What's more important in December and January? Getting more talent on the roster or getting the right coaches to coach up the talent that you have? And that's a big question for Matt Rhule going into this next month. Do you have the right guys on staff to develop the talent that you have and turn them into winners? Because we saw with Eckler, having the right coach in the right place means the world to the talent in that room. The right coach can get a guy playing like no other coach can. Like, just because you have a coach with a record doesn't mean they're going to get everyone playing at the level they need to be. Eckler is proof of that. He came in, got the talent playing at a level they'd never played before. He's a guy you got to keep no matter what. That's a guy that you want to be on staff for Nebraska until he retires. Does Nebraska have those kind of guys everywhere on the field? The right coach will bring the talent out. I'm not convinced Nebraska has the right coaches everywhere to bring the talent out of their players, evidenced by what I said earlier about there not being development this year.
Can you develop your players? Can you retain your players? Can you find guys from a profile standpoint? Can you evaluate the right guys? Or is Nebraska, when it comes to the marketplace right now, reaching and hoping for some home runs? Is there a certain level that Nebraska can overspend on to get here? Not everybody, but some guys. And you're stuck with that, a guy that's a retread versus a difference maker. And that's the question right now. Who are you getting in the portal? Comparatively speaking, are you enhancing your roster with portal? Are you plugging gaps to make up for lack of development or just whiffs on the recruiting trail? And what's being done with guys that have played 3 years and been developed by somebody else or been in the program for 3 years out of high school? I mean, this is a big picture problem. A timeout. We'll hear from Matt Rhule. We invite you down to the bar. The bar. It's Real Red Reaction. YZ in studio. Bill Doleman, Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt. Get your thoughts in not only on the Iowa game, but moving forward. 489-1240. A timeout, and we're back.
Electrolux front load laundry pairs up to 50% off. That's $1,500 in savings on amazing front load pairs with pedestals. You want it. Schaefer's has it. Free dishwasher install on select Frigidaire dishwashers. You heard me right. This week only, get free dishwasher install with Frigidaire. You want it. Schaefer's has it. The best selection at everyday low prices. If you want it, you need to get to Schaefer's.
Oh. My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wine. Guys in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. $5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code HYPE to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code HYPE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank.
Get your thoughts on now. The Real Red Reaction Show is unfiltered at KFOR.
Elijah Herbel, Bill Doleman went to get a shorter chair, apparently. I see the Snitley boys, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty. Big thanks to Seth and Greg, great folks from the Bar and Lazari's for having us out. As you're welcome to dial up at 489-1240 to get in. 489-1240 for Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. As can find locations 14th and Pine Lake, 84th and Old Shady, or soon to be 84th and Adams. As plenty to hit on here. Fellas, Nebraska fans are ticked off. They don't like seeing losses. They don't like seeing a game go from a one-score ball game or a three-point ball game. You just never felt comfortable that the levee wasn't going to break, to quote old Led Zeppelin. It did. You didn't get any help from the officiating, but it was going to be bad. Just how bad? And some of our previous callers touched on the resiliency part of the football team right now. But, I mean, there's a lot to talk about here, Elijah, Bill, and YZ, with the team moving forward. Can you accurately spend in the portal to get difference makers? Can you get more Roccos out there? Can you get more run stoppers out there? Can you go get a game wrecker off the edge to go with what you think you might have in Winery or a Keona Davis? We don't know who's staying. We don't know who's going. From a strength and conditioning standpoint, Nebraska doesn't look as strong for 4 quarters of a football team as everybody else in the Big Ten. Nebraska also just is so reliant on one man in Emmett Johnson. We don't know if he's coming back or not. Probably not. So it's a mess pre-bowl game. It's a mess post-bowl game, and it might be a nuclear bomb come 2026 with the schedule.
Well, the concern that I have coming out of the portal, or going into portal season, is can you go get winners in the portal, or are you going to go get guys that are chasing a paycheck in the portal? I think Nebraska can pay with the big dogs. Maybe not your Ohio States of the world, but a lot of teams that are competing for a playoff, you can go spin with those people. But can you go get guys that want to go win? As opposed to guys that are just, man, Nebraska sure has offered me a lot of money. Sure would be nice to have my 401k in order before I graduate college. That's my big question here. Can you go sell 7 and 5 to guys that want to transfer to a school that will win football games and get them ready for the NFL? That's what I don't know.
The portal thing reminds me a bit of minor league baseball. I remember the days with the Salt Dogs when the St. Paul Saints would go raid the Mexican leagues for players who are out of jobs. And those guys are traveling from Tijuana to St. Paul. Garbage bags. I'm not sure if they're still on the air or not.
Oh, we lost Bill.
Yeah, I can't hear Bill.
Really didn't want me to say what I was saying.
The mic has been unplugged. Schmidt unplugged Bill's mic. He's been silenced. Bill started talking about Tijuana, and Schmidt said, cut it. We're not going to hear Tijuana stories from Bill. I am still on the air, Schmidt. I don't know if Bill is.
I'm not. I know I'm not.
Caleb, you ever been to Tijuana?
I wish I could. I wish I have, but unfortunately I have not.
All right, now I guess I'm back.
We're back.
So I can remember when St. Paul would sign these players and they'd show up with like all their stuff in a paper bag, and they were mercenaries with a bat, and they were just chasing the bag, getting a ring or doing whatever, and that's to your point is, do you want guys who really want to be great college football players and with a great team and further their education? Come on. Nebraska's in a really precarious spot right now with whatever they do they're good. Look, I think Nebraska's going to have 30 to 40 players in the portal.
Yep.
And then you can't. What are they at 125 now? And then you got to get to the 105. So you're going to have some guys who are going to be cut loose. But I bet you there are some big names or familiar names in the portal that you would be surprised by, who didn't develop or just don't want to be around anymore.
Well, coming down to evaluation is so key. And listen, you're held to a standard right now of the Kurt Signetti work. You just are, because he fixed it and he made a basketball school a national title threat, and he backed it up.
But that's still a unique deal because he brought 25, 30 of his own players.
But
Not everybody can do that.
It was so strategic by what Indiana did. It was brilliant and it worked. And he's a Saban disciple.
Can I more accurately? I think. Can you look at what Fred Hoiberg has done with Nebraska basketball, comparing his first 2 or 3 seasons to what
you figured it out and you reset.
You found guys that had a chip on their shoulder. We talked to Sam about this last weekend. Guys have a chip on their shoulder, will go outwork anybody in the country because they got their shot and they want to go prove everybody else wrong. Was Sam Hoiberg, was Cale Jacobson, Rink Mast, were these the most recruited guys out of high school? No. Some of these guys, were they the most recruited guys out of the portal? Absolutely not. But you have a team identity, and you found guys that came in and fit your team identity. Now, I understand basketball is not football, slightly different sports, but look at the way Fred Hoiberg changed his recruiting strategy and his portal strategy to find guys that wanted to be at Nebraska, that wanted to win, that were willing to go outwork everybody else, and Fred was willing to bet on their development in his system. Now look at what Nebraska's going to have to do in the portal moving forward. Probably have to be similar. Hey, you can go get the 5-star reject that's leaving Alabama or whatever school for whatever reason that wants that paycheck and understands, that last spot didn't work out for me, and I only have another year or two left of making a whole bunch of money. Let's go do that. Or do you want to go find the guy that's got a chip on their shoulder that wants to go prove everybody in college football wrong, like the guys that went with Signetti from James Madison to Indiana and say, you know what, we're going to go double birds to the rest of college football world. We're going to go win because everyone else doubted us. And I'm not saying it's like for like, but I question if the portal strategy and the recruiting strategy for Matt Rhule has to change moving forward to find guys that fit your identity and are going to go be willing to outwork everybody else in college football.
Well, and you need to shift away your communication skills and your vision and your build and your chemistry and your culture. That's all well and good, but when push comes to shove, you got to show results. And Nebraska fans, aside from the result, they are wore out by the talk versus the action. There needs to be action. Today's action was applauded and respected watching a guy like Emmett Johnson. But the rest of the day, absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. And you're sick of it. You can't stand it. You want it fixed. It's not supposed to be this way if you're a Nebraska fan. And listen, I think there's a lot of realistic Nebraska fans that know football and understand that this team was not a playoff team. But with your schedule, you should have been knocking on that 8-win door, and anyone good on your schedule beats you. And it went from losing by 3 to Michigan early in the year, and then losing by 4 to USC, to getting annihilated by a Penn State team that wasn't sure they wanted to keep fighting. They did after they got a goal line stand. And then Iowa came in and just drilled you, who Iowa's a team that's an 8-win football squad, but they were real close and more substance. Right now, you are fluff and talk and style to try and sell what you're not. You got to show results, and you got to become substance right now with who you recruit, how you coach, how you develop, and who you bring in.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys, what would you give an overall grade on the season based on the expectations coming into this season and saying we had an easy schedule, we had this talent, and the expectations we had, I think everybody, a lot of Husker fans, had us written in for 8 to 9 wins and start 6-1, finish 7-5.
You get
C minus, B plus.
I give them a D plus. They're bowl eligible. They're maybe going to end up with 8 wins, and that is if half of Utah ends up going off to the NFL or not wanting to play in the Las Vegas Bowl. But they're going to be 7-6 again if Utah gives a damn about the bowl game.
Your preseason regular season win total was 7.5. It's another season of Nebraska.
Hitting the under.
If you 10 years ago would have put $100 on Nebraska's under on the win total and kept on rolling it back into the next season, you would be rich at this point in time. You were making bands if you were betting the under on Nebraska's win total. And that is a standard in college football, a barometer for success. Did you exceed that preseason win total? And Nebraska's on, I think it's over 10 straight years now of falling short of the preseason win total. And that's about all I'll say on that in terms of the expectations. You fell very short. I'm with Smitty, D+. Yeah, you beat some teams that you were expected to beat, but whenever the lights were bright and you had chances to further this program, you fell short every single time.
Vegas always knows something. I said it last week going into Penn State. I wasn't confident about the Penn State game at the beginning of the season. I wasn't confident about it last week. Vegas always knows something. And what was the preseason win total for Nebraska? 7.5. 7.5. And they're staring at 7-6 now.
Yep.
And depending on who they play in probably the Las Vegas Bowl, if it's Utah, that'll be probably a pretty close to a home game for Utah. But they'll be down because if they played themselves out of a playoff position, Utah might be a little less motivated. But they will manhandle. Utah will do, if that's who it is, if that's the speculation. If it's Utah, they will do exactly what Iowa just did. They're the same team. They've got a coach that is hard-headed, does the things that he wants to do, going to do it, going to get coaches that do it the way he wants it to be done, and they're physical. They can be creative at times, but Kyle Whittingham teams and those like him, Kirk Ferentz teams, and it pains me to admit that with Iowa, they have an identity and they have stuck to it. Now, that identity, whenever they would play, Osborne teams back in the day, didn't match up at all. But now they get to play Nebraska like it's a cat toy. And that's what it was today.
This is incredible from Dave. A $100 ticket 9 years ago in 2016 rolled over 9 times through this year would now net you $180,000. I haven't checked that math, but I know Dave he's kind of...
He lives for that.
Well, he's tight with the casinos. He lives for that. I trust him fully. That is a ridiculous, wild number. You can pay off your kids, your grandkids' college tuition in 9 years by just betting the under on Nebraska's win total.
Let's go to Matt Rhule. YZ, can we do that? Do we have Rhule queued up and ready to go?
Yes, we can.
Can I just say this? Credit to them.
Wow. You heard it first before you heard it next. As here's Matt Rhule, post-game show, his thoughts on what happened against Iowa. Nebraska's head football coach. Nebraska's 7-5, waiting for their bowl bid.
Thank you. Well, I'll be the first to say that that's unacceptable, and I certainly understand. I certainly understand how that feels to all the great fans that we have. The student section that's full. People come to the game, and I understand their disappointment. I understand our team's disappointment. I think when you end the season the way we have the last 2 games, it has to rest solely on me. And I've loved this team. I love everything about them. I certainly didn't think today would go that way. Thought we came out ready to play, and in the end, they were the better football team. So I don't shirk that. I own that. I'm responsible for it. I understand that in times like this, it can get a little bit negative, and I just say honestly, all that should all be directed at me. I don't want the players to panic. It shouldn't go towards them. Shouldn't go towards the coach. I think it has to fall on me. We want to be a team that gets better at the end of the year, and these last 2 games have not been that. So I take that, I own that, and I'll answer all your questions.
How much did it affect that overall picture that you couldn't get in the end zone in the first half? 1 for 4 and getting in the end zone in the first half.
Yeah, I think that was really the story in the first half. I mean, we had 186 yards rushing. I mean, we just outrushed Iowa. We had 186 yards rushing in the first half, and they were able to score touchdowns, whereas we scored field goals. And so that certainly was the issue. But that's, if we're being honest, it's been sort of the issue most of the year is just not winning the red zone touchdown battle. And so if we hold them to a couple field goals there, the game is different. Even at the end, it's 40 to whatever. We go down. We're hoping to make it 40 to 24, and we fumble in the red zone. So, but certainly early, it's a little more the early start. I'd say it was that. We had a couple chances to make some plays, and we didn't quite make the plays, and they did a good job of making some plays.
Both your run and your pass defense were kind of disrepaired these last 2 games. What do you feel like happened? I know it's kind of a bigger picture question, but what do you feel like happened?
I think. I mean, like I said, this is the last game of the year. I think it's the right time. I appreciate the question. You ask me whatever you want. I mean, today was to me today was about big plays. It wasn't like they ended up. Now, trust me, they had the ball, control the ball. They ended up running. But the play action game off the run game, and just probably having to do too much to sell out. Even it's playing a run defense like they on the long play there at the end, the bootleg, Sierra comes off and tries to make the tackle on the quarterback, and then they have an explosive play. I have to take some time to really delve into it because, as I said, I thought we play really well last week, and I thought we played really well today. And certainly the kickoff returns and the field position tilted in the first half against us. I mean, at one point they had 10 points and they had 9 plays, or something crazy like that. So I was just like, hey, calm down, just keep playing. But anything I say right now, Sam, will feel like an excuse. It'll feel like me to say it like an excuse. I look out there, I see a bunch of young players. I just keep saying to them, like, hey, get off and make a play. You need a sack fumble. The defense is about big hits and picking balls off and sack fumbles and scooping scores and all those things, and we're just not getting those versus the higher quality opponents, right? And so this was a team that had a really good plan, and they made plays, and we just didn't quite make the plays. I thought we defended like the traditional run way better at times today than we have, and then quarterback, made some plays that really hurt us. We have them in third down, it's a cute run, cue, draw, score. If we have them in the red zone, score. I mean, those things can't happen.
Related to the red zone struggles at halftime, you go in and Emmett's got 177 yards on the ground and no turnovers offensively, and yet you're down 8 points and they're getting the ball coming out. Is that is that a tough pill to swallow, knowing all of that going into the locker room?
I think going in the locker room, I like the way we took the ball early, saying, "Hey, let's get the game to the fourth quarter and have the win in the fourth quarter." So I knew we were going to have to battle through the third. I liked the way that Emmett was playing. I thought, hey, my hope was that we get back in the red zone and they would run the ball through the red zone, and obviously TJ got hurt early on in the game, and that limited a lot of the things that we wanted to do. And so, he pulled his hamstring. And so it was just kind of like Dana was like, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to move him around." One of our big thoughts this game was like, in the drop back game, hey, he'd scramble around and make, because sort of the way that they play, and we were not able to, had to kind of abandon that early. But I didn't mind being down by 8. I mean, I just, we thought like, hey, this is kind of how this game's going to go. I was disappointed that we were losing, and our pass defense was losing. Kind of going back to Sam's question, they played man. We played man to stop the run, and they beat us. They kind of beat us in the passing game. And so it was sort of like, hey, well, I guess we'll have to play some more zones if we're not going to quite win. I think, if you play man, you got to win, right? So those things were hard today.
Were your receivers competitive enough today, both when the ball was in the air and while they were running their runs?
I didn't notice anything. I mean, you might have seen things on TV that I didn't see. I thought like on Emmett's run, I thought there were huge blocks. There were just a couple of miscommunications, right? Like there's a couple of times we're running option routes and like, guy sits it down and, I had no concerns with effort or anything like that. What I did see was 3 or 4, times we had, a 50-50 ball, and we did, unfortunately we didn't come down with it. Their kid, even at the end, made a great catch for it. But I think our receivers have played well all year. We get in the game, we got a young quarterback, he pulls his hamstring and kind of limited maybe some of their opportunities. And also Emmett was, in a disappointing day, I don't know the right word. It was an amazing effort by him. That was something that, I'll probably remember for a long time, just how hard he played and how well he played. And I'm just trying to think, Sam. I'm sorry. I don't remember feeling like, hey, they're not playing hard or anything like that.
Not effort, but just like winning those games.
Yeah, well, yes. Like that one, I think just in the end zone, Quinn just jumped too early. If he jumps a second later, hopefully he catches that ball. The second one, down the right corner, like it should be handed off. It's an RPO, but at the same time, you're hoping you make those plays. Our guys have made those plays a lot.
What impact do you think that safety had on the overall field of the game?
I think, I think we came out, we got the stop, right? So we're down 8, right? So you get the stop and you're feeling pretty good. And then they kick it and they do a great job in the kicking game and they're offside. So we make them repunt, thinking, we'll get an explosive play now. And, we just kind of don't feel it. And then we pick it up and, I certainly thought it was targeting, I thought he hit him with the crown of his helmet and all that. So, maybe all that, but it's still, so it goes, it's now a 10-point ball game. Right. And at the end of the day, like on offense, like you went 3 and out twice in the third quarter. Right. You have to get a first down and get the defense off the field, and so that was, to me, that was really the tail. But Jacory's a great returner. The second return he had was a dynamic return. They called, personal foul to bring it back, but, that I don't think that play was probably the end all be all, but it certainly didn't help.
Did they give you an explanation on the targeting?
No, they didn't. Well, they can throw that on the field. They didn't throw it on the field, so I kept asking them as I watched the replay. I was like, he hit him with the crown of his helmet. I know he's not defenseless. That's the first one, but he's hit with the crown of his helmet, and so it didn't go to review. They looked at it, I guess, wherever they look at it, somewhere off site, and then they just said they cleared it. So I was asking the officials, like, can you tell me why? And none of them they can't tell you why. So, because they don't know, right? Because they're not on that call. So basically they said, hey, we cleared it. So I'd have to ask them why.
Were you close to, was TJ close to not being able to go with that hand in there?
Yeah, we talked about it a lot. Even at the end, and I thought, just let you know TJ's future and what I think he can do. Like he drove us right down the field there at the end. Unfortunately, on that last drive, with a tight hamstring. I've been proud of him and all that he's done. I think that's a great learning lesson for a young quarterback to have to go out there and play when you're not at 100% versus a really good defense. I don't know how many times we threw it today, but and he scrambled a few of them, and I don't think we had any sacks. I thought the offensive line answered the call. We ran the ball. We pass protected, and he got the ball out of his hand. But we thought about it. They thought about an offense, and I encourage TJ to play. Man, I would never want a kid to get hurt, but as a quarterback, you have to learn how to play when you're not 100%. And I thought he tried.
I'm sorry, when did that happen?
That happened in the first. Maybe in the second drive of the game. Right, he rolled out right and got hit. So, and whatever Emmett's drive was, the drive after that, I think down in our side, right. So he got hit, and so really for the rest of the game, he battled through it.
Was the injury to TJ a contributing factor into the goal line play with Heinrich?
Yeah, well, we were having to use Heinrich to do any sort of zone read stuff, and he ran it. They ran the ball. He read it, handed it off. Emmett got down to the one. I think they were probably hoping that he would be able to hand it off again and get in. So Dana just had to say run the same play, that they wanted to keep TJ out and him in. I think the hurry to the clock because we were thinking, hey, let's go score and go for two and make it 40-24, 40 whatever the score was. Make it competitive and see if we can go onside kick, get the ball back. So I think we probably tempoed it, and I think if we went back, probably wouldn't do that.
Coach, what's your message to the fan base with the highs and the lows the season has brought, and kind of how you move things forward in this program at 7-5?
Yeah, I don't want to say anything right now that's other than what I said at the beginning because I think people have a right to be upset, okay, with how it ended. For me, all I can say is I have some of the best recruits here today. I'm going to continue to work. I'm going to work as hard as I can, as long as I can. I'm going to surround myself with really positive people, not toxic people, and just try to continue to move the program forward. This group of guys is the first team to be bowl eligible 2 years in a row since 2013, 2014. So is it enough? No. But is it better than it was? Yes. So, but if I'm a fan right now, I'm walking away. I'm mad. So I'm walking away mad. I'm not saying I'm walking off the field. Some people are supporters. Like, good for them. Like they're passionate about this place. I love being the head coach of University of Nebraska. I love being in Nebraska because people are passionate about this. So I don't want my message to be anything other than I don't want it to be hope and all. It's like, yeah, it wasn't good enough, man. But if I start going with positives, it's like, all right, Matt, But I think today just has to be that. Please don't be super toxic at the players because I want them to just put it on me. Like I'm in charge of this. Troy and them they extended me. Like they believe in what we're doing, and then all of a sudden we come down the stretch, we lose these last two games. I'm pissed off at myself. Like I don't, but I know where we're headed. I know what we're doing. I know where we're moving forward. And so I believe in what we're doing. I believe in the recruits that are bought into us. I believe in the signing class Wednesday. And so I don't want to overreact. These last two games weren't good enough. We'll get a really good bowl game versus a quality team. We'll catch our breath. Well, I hope all those Husker fans just say, you know what, let's go somewhere warm, hopefully, and be in a bowl game. And then let's celebrate signing day on Wednesday. Let's go back and look at the fun moments we had this year. And then, we'll continue to move forward and we'll continue to build the thing. But I don't want it to be anything else for me other than like I understand, and it's losing these last two games the way we've lost them is not good enough. But that does not minimize the fact that these kids have worked their. I don't say that about me. These kids have worked their like the Javens of the world and all those guys. All they dreamt about was going to a bowl game, and now they're going to two in a row, and not like with a waiver. Like they've earned their way into it. Disappointed with how it ended, but we'll continue to work and figure it out.
And that's something you can fix the line of scrimmage component. Where do you feel like you guys are right now, even compared to a couple of years ago? Like, do you feel like you're further along there, and how much further do you have to go to winning that?
Yeah, no, that's I think that's the number one thing for us right now is like controlling the line of scrimmage. I don't want to minimize our offensive line, who was kind of under fire in the middle of the season. What they've done, down the stretch, in my opinion, like to go out there and have 186 yards rush in the first half. If the last two games, I believe if they don't quite get it, if it doesn't come in a 2-minute game in the fourth quarter, then maybe they have a 300-yard game. So they're not giving up sacks. You got but that being said, all that being said, we have to win the lines of scrimmage to win. I mean, especially like we played two games with like so like that's the win today was a severe, issue. And so, there's one point where I look out there on defense, okay, and I've got Riley Van Poppel, who's a sophomore. I've got Keona, who's a sophomore. I've got Will Waneri, who's a sophomore. I've got Dylan Rogers, who's a sophomore. I've got Rex Guthrie, who's a redshirt freshman. I've got Marshall, who's a junior, and I've got Donnie, who's a redshirt freshman. So those guys are all going to be great players. But that's not like I'm not selling a vision of hope. I'm saying like they have to grow up. That being said, we have to get to the point where like we run you over on the offensive and defensive lines. We had a great defensive line last year, and they were vets. We had 5th and 6th year guys and MJ Sherman and all those guys. And so, but I don't want to put this on these kids, right? Like we just have to continue to grow. We have to continue to develop our own players and recruit the best players possible. And if we want to compete at the level that we want to compete. And so 7-5 is not the level we want to compete at. We want to compete at a much higher level. And so we've had moments where I look this year like I thought we were doing that, and then other moments we didn't. And but I also don't want to minimize what the offensive line has done down this stretch here. They've I believe they've really come together.
If this was Emmett's last home game, how do you summarize what he's meant to the program?
I think Emmett's a tremendous example, of what great character and integrity brings, of a kid that was maybe undervalued coming out, who stayed here and stayed in the program and has done all the things and went from just sort of a rotational player to a kind of somewhat rotational starter to now. I mean, that was one of the best players in college football out there playing today. And so, that's why, I hope all of our guys, they sit there and they look at Emmett and they say to themselves, boy, I'm really disappointed today, but I just got to get back in the weight room with Corey on Tuesday. I got to go eat with Kristen on Monday and trust that someday my breakout, like Emmett's having his breakout, will come. And so I'm really proud to coach Emmett. I'll support him, whatever his decision is. I've told him that from day one. And, I think he'll be a really good pro player. And I think if he comes back here, he'll have another dynamic year. He'll be up for every major award, and he'll leave a Husker legend. But more importantly, he's a really good man.
Does this closing stretch make it more challenging to walk into the time of year where so much business in the sport is handled now over the next 4 to 6 weeks?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we've got a great thing going. We've got great facilities. We've got great everything. I mean, I think, Pat and his staff will do a great job. I mean, I think the recruits that have said they're coming here, I think they've seen what we can be. We've also seen what we don't want to be, like the last 2 days. But that's why they're coming here. They're coming here to get us over the hump, right? And so, not many people would have the crowd that we had today. Not many people would have the things we have. And so, I mean, yeah, would I've loved to have ended with two wins and have everyone be here 100%. But, at the end of the day, people are coming here because they know this is the best place for them if they've committed to us. And then you hope the relationships that they have with us will be there through thick and thin. So, like I said, Mitch, I think it relates to recruiting. I'm going to wake up every single day and work as hard as I can. And our staff will do the same thing and try to surround ourselves with as many, many positive people and people who believe in what we're doing. And we'll find a way to get it done. All right, thank you guys for everything all year.
That was Matt Rhule, an extended post game. His final answer on is this progress. It's better than it's been, but it's not good enough. Kind of the short surmise. We're going to continue on stream only as we'll wind down here on air on KFOR. We're still here at the bar.
Powered by Slinkies.
16th and P. Big thanks to Seth and Allie and the crew here at the bar for having us. They've had us out every year, once a year, be it Oklahoma or Michigan or Black Friday for Nebraska, Iowa. Pride of Fairbury's Bill Doleman, Elijah Herbel is in, Chris Schmidt, YZ is in studio. So you are welcome to swing on down to the bar. A few more thoughts to talk Nebraska, Iowa, and big picture discussion. Don't forget, weekend edition of the Average Joe Sports Show, 7:45-ish tomorrow. But let's explain real quick as we transition out on air follow us still on the stream on YouTube. We'll tell you what a slinky is if you're unfamiliar, and we'll dive in. We may or may not have a Spindler sighting. It's Spin Dog's birthday.
We'll see.
We shall see, but you're invited to the bar. YZ, brother, thank you for hanging on and hanging out in studio. Swing on down if you want and hang out. Tiger Shark Diver says, can I cuss more off air? That's a distinct possibility. Not encouraged, but not illegal. Quick timeout. We'll step away from KFOR, KFORnow.com, and continue on the stream here with Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens.
And we keep it live. I assume we're still live. I assume the people can still hear us. We're rocking and rolling. How much longer do you think we got to go here?
Oh, I mean, folks, we've had a lot of good phone calls today. I'm thinking probably close to 4:30.
As I get my feel on Husker Nation today,
they're
last week was anger.
Been out of shape.
No, last week I think was more anger. This week there is still some anger, but I think dejection is running higher than anger in terms of Matt Rhule's not the guy. Matt Rhule's never going to get it done. Today was the evidence. I feel, not to say there is no anger, there is anger. I'm feeling dejection from Husker fans today.
It's two tones you can take as a father. Either I'm mad or I'm disappointed. Okay? You were mad last week. You're both today. You're mad and you're disappointed.
There's resignation. There's resignation that this is where the program is, and Iowa is just a flat-out better football program. Nebraska's got better sleep pods. There's no question. Nobody has better facilities, accoutrements, luxuries.
But you're always selling. Even in this dejection, he's always trying to close, and I appreciate that, but it didn't.
Look,
it's not what you need to hear right now.
Iowa can say they do have better luxuries at Nebraska. They have great facilities. They have all kinds of things that for you who will probably top out your career at this level, you will really enjoy your experience there because they will treat you really well. You'll have every bell, whistle, and toy you will ever need for the next 3 or 4 years that you play football, and then that's it. But we're going to show you all of these guys who are currently playing in the NFL who developed for our program. Which do you want to be? Matt Rhule says we're a developmental program. Iowa proves it's a developmental program. And they have, if it's all about getting to the league, which to me, look, very few schools have dozens of players in the NFL. Like, talent comes from all over. And to think that everybody who comes to Nebraska or any college football program is automatically going to be in the league, that is just a complete fallacy. Only a handful of players from programs go into the National Football League. But Iowa can say they have all the luxuries you're ever going to want. And I said this many years ago back when Mike Riley was recruiting, and it was like players were coming to Nebraska because, oh my gosh, look how pampered I can be for the next 4 years.
What kind of players you're trying to get.
Right. I get these, players that are coming in from Calabasas, and man, look at all I can get for the next 4 years while I'm at Nebraska. And I'll get a degree. I'm not probably not going to the league, but boy, they're going to treat me really well for there. But go to some other programs and they're going to develop you to become NFL players. I can remember when Nebraska used to have dozens of players in the league, year after year, just cranking out players, and we're there for long term. Iowa can point to that. Look how many players we will develop you. It's going to be nice here. We do have nice facilities. We don't have what they have, but we will develop you and make you an NFL player. And look, Matt Rhule started off his press conference saying, let me be the first to say unacceptable. I got news. There were probably about 50,000 people that beat you to it because by the end of the game,
don't want to hear it.
They had let you know that it was unacceptable when the end of the game looked like the Class A state championship game at Memorial Stadium earlier in the week. That's how many people were there by the end of the third quarter. that they let you know that it was unacceptable.
Truthfully, this year, are there any impressive wins? I mean, Cincinnati maybe, but
Cincinnati and Northwestern are okay, but you can't go over against the name brands.
The performance against Minnesota was just, like, I think that really showed where the program is actually at, because there wasn't any effort on the field at times. And then the same thing at Penn State, you saw guys just, it seemed like they didn't care. Like they not only got like destroyed and manhandled, but it's like they gave up at certain points of the season.
Well, it's going to start falling on deaf ears. It just will. And I believe this about Rhule. I think he isn't going to lie to his guys. I think he's a pretty genuine and honest coach. But I think right now the dude's an overthinker. I think there's some rabbit ears as to what's the narrative. And I know you want to be a good coach. Coach McBride always says it. You get good players. So he's in this constant chase right now of trying to sell while you win. And then get up to a point where it just kind of starts chipping off 15% for you. But you've misidentified, or you've not motivated, or you've not developed, or you've been shy on coaching from a fundamentals standpoint. So when push comes to shove and you face an elite program with fundamentals and development and guys that just don't give a bleep, Iowa's gonna rock you.
Well, and did you guys see what our good friend Gary Sharp tweeted just about an hour ago? This is the type of loss that means every aspect of your program, coaches, players, strength and conditioning, how you structure your practices, everything needs to be examined. It's full autopsy time for Nebraska here in the next month. And I agree. It's this type of loss that shows whatever you've been doing through your first 3 years.
That's the only good thing about today, if you're a Nebraska fan, getting trashed, is it is autopsy time.
Talent-wise, this is the most talented team that Matt Rhule has had. There is athletes on the field. Have they been developed right? I don't know. Doesn't look like it to me. You have a 5-star quarterback at the helm and a very high 4-star that came in to back up. They both weren't good enough for you this year. Emmett Johnson was the lone bright spot on the team that played up to the standard I think a Nebraska Husker football player should have. It is time for a full autopsy, a full deep dive into this program to ask, after 3 years, why is this still the result? Why is getting trounced at home by a team that just out-physicals at you at the point of attack still happening? It's full autopsy time.
Well, and what's the loyalty to some of the staff members? Then you'll determine, did you really do a full-on autopsy, audit, whatever you want to put it. One's cleaner than the other. If there is still loyalties to staff members, I get it. But at some point, there's a pretty good body of work that indicates some people just aren't cut out to be difference makers on your staff and developing players. So
at some point, you have to look inside the program, and if it's, I do like, we got a heated jacket here.
Is that the infamous Iowa crew?
The Dana Holgerson jacket? Look at that thing. How much did that run you?
Crew, how are you feeling about your Iowa win?
That's Brian.
Brian, okay.
Brian.
My fault.
Crew didn't make his way to Lincoln for this one.
Okay.
Unfortunate.
We are down here at the bar, 16th and P. We invite you down. Continue your thought.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. The results have looked the same through 3 years. You cannot continue on with the same old process of getting killed on the road against Penn State and getting killed at home against Iowa, and losing on a Friday night against Minnesota continues to happen. You can't run an insane football program. Something's got to change. I'm not talking wholesale changes, but something is clearly not working behind the scenes.
The other part of this, the definition of insanity, is to not come down to the bar and try a slinky. Can we get into what slinkies are?
Yeah, it's off-brand grape energy drink with various cheap vodkas.
And it tastes wonderful.
And some Sprite. I'm not sure Bill's the biggest fan.
Well,
Bill needs a non-filter camel to get after it.
I'm
here.
in moderation, but you know what is missing is like a big old dollop of vanilla ice cream, and you make one of those slinky purple cows like we had when I was a kid. Yeah.
This wasn't the purple cow I hope you were having as a kid.
Be a nice
childhood's a little different in Fairbury.
Be a nice little dessert there, but
you come home after a long day at the hot dog plant to a Slinky.
or watching Nebraska get blasted by Iowa. It's good to be down here at the bar, 16th and P. Big thanks to Seth and Greg and Allie and crew for having us down. So, Captain's asking what we're talking about. I don't know if that's in the stream or the drink, but Captain, we're talking about the Slinky drink, partner. Unless I'm a few minutes behind, I don't think so on the stream. So, yeah, Ed Foley was asking what Clausborn think. Tell us, Bill. You always pick Nebraska. Any truth to this? Tiger Shark driver, Fairbury, has smoked Marlboro Reds.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, why not? Yeah, roll your own too. Stay away from the Shickley ditchweed, but yeah.
Let's get into this officiating. Okay, let's have an honest discussion about Nebraska refereeing, missed calls, game-changing calls. Do you think? I think 4th and 1 last week flipped the tone. You get a touchdown, you're up 7-0 on Penn State. You may not win, but it's not a 27-point loss. Barney catches the ball, gets smoked, fumbles, safety. It turns into 10. Your defense hangs in for a little bit, but again, Gronowski makes a play or two, throwing the ball with his legs, and he was way better than Latif today, and Latif was dinged, but is what it is. I like his upside. How much weight do you put on that play in the outcome? Is it 40-16, fellas? If they get it right with the targeting call in Nebraska, 1st and 10 at their own 40, down 8 with a whole half of football left.
No, I think
Iowa eventually snuffs them out.
Yeah, I think that play did have something to do with the Nebraska's demeanor. Maybe it was because you forced them to punt the ball again, and then you have such a bizarre play like that, and then you've got the non-target, which is obvious. Now, if Nebraska had utilized that moment to get together or whatever and say, here we go again, they're against us or something, but that didn't happen. It did seem like that turned. Iowa played just right through it. They just played steady right on through it. One thing that troubles me about the game too, after Harburg's fumble at the 1 and the ball goes into the end zone, right? Nebraska, that was with 6.5 minutes to go in the game. Nebraska never touched the football again.
Couldn't get off the field.
Could not get off the field in the last 6.5 minutes, and just, again, resignation. Fans have resignation, and after that non-target and after that play, when they didn't get the touchdown, resignation. That'll be my word tomorrow. But to not get the ball back with 6.5 minutes to go when Iowa knows they've got this thing well in hand, and they couldn't stop them, and all they did was go from the 20 to the 50. It's not like they drove downfield either. They just nickeled and dimed it and took seconds off the clock. But going way back to your question, the officiating, there are only certain times when you can blame the officials for a loss, I think. Penn State 1982, back-to-back plays, that was atrocious. The officials had an impact on how that game finished out. The Florida State Orange Bowl with the phantom penalty on Corey Dixon's punt return. William Floyd never crossed the goal line, whatever. But there needs to be some sense of, after a game where I think people can see some transparency and accountability. This is the grading of the officials, and these are the calls that were missed. At least I could go into the next game and go, at least you acknowledge it. that they're not perfect, but we're supposed to accept that every call is perfect. You can't ask a referee or an official why that was made. What was the one last week? There was a questionable call in some game, and they came out with like a one-sentence acknowledgement, and that was it. I would love to see this officiating crew missed this, and this. This was a good call on this. I'd go into a game and go, okay, at least I know what I can expect, but they're going to hide behind this targeting and then, or maybe come out with a statement tomorrow. Well, yeah, probably should have been. No sugar, it should have been.
They're not even going to come out with a statement.
Right.
Because coming out with a statement would have to admit wrongdoing on the part of your officials.
Right.
Oh, wow.
That's I would love for there to be some type of transparency.
Let's bring in an average Jane as Allie is with us here. Allie, thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here.
Well, how did you take today?
We are what we are.
Resignation.
Yep.
Yeah.
You are what your record says you are.
Yep.
Good song by Big Head Todd and the Monsters, Resignation Superman. We've got Poison on the boombox. The bar.
But
you guys have
know
had
what?
us.
We don't need nothing but a good time, right? That's how we celebrate.
Or
we
cope.
cry or cope or whatever we do.
Or celebrate, but not today, unless
Not
you
today.
had the overs in Iowa. But you guys are awesome. You, Seth, and Gregors and company. We have been out here how many years in a row for post games once a year? We love it.
Yeah. We love having you guys. Thank you for coming. We love you guys too.
Well, we appreciate it. We got to sign the men's bathroom door, not the wall.
Don't sign the men's bathroom door. There's a panel missing. So
I get, yeah, but there are places to sign, and the bar, 16th and P is where to be. So appreciate you guys.
We gotta get Bill Doleman on the wall so all the students can see him in here.
Yes, we got to get Bill on the wall. I'm up there with.
Maybe I'll bring my students down for a field trip someday.
Yeah. Oh,
I'll bring my students
Bill's
down for a
bringing
field trip
kids
to the
for
bar.
a field trip.
The bar.
He is the best professor in all of Nebraska.
10 a.m. on a Tuesday, and the class is going to the bar.
What's Schmidt and Elijah doing there?
Seniors only.
Prepping.
Seniors only.
I love it.
Is it time to get into the what's the word you used to? Okay,
It is. We have 9 minutes left.
Two-part. We need a word to describe the game, and we need a word to describe the season.
I think the easiest word is disappointing.
Sure.
For the season or the game or both?
Both.
Yeah. The season is underwhelming. That's my word. And the game, I keep thinking of Ron Burgundy and the meme. Boy, that escalated quickly. And that's how it turned on a dime. And it was red zone, right? You're stuck with 3 instead of 7, and away you go. But today's game, reality.
That's a good word.
Elijah?
Well, my word for the season is more of a phrase. I'm going to cop out. I was going to say 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That's harsh. It was 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. You progressed in some areas and absolutely, undeniably regressed in others. This is still a broken, flawed football team. That's the simplest way I can put it. They are better in some areas. They've gotten a lot worse. They are just broken and flawed, and I don't know what the fix is. And Matt Rhule makes a lot of money to figure it out within the next month and make the necessary changes. But I was talking a couple weeks ago about Penn State and Iowa potentially being the jumping off point for a college football playoff type run next year. That's no longer the standard for me. It's next year's standard is the same standard I had this year, which is you are trying to change the narrative next year and put yourself back into a position where you're no longer the laughingstock, the punching bag of college football. You end the 2025 season, you're still the butt of the jokes. You're still the doormat. You're still the punching bag. That has not changed. And that's the big disappointment here. That's why I said 2 steps forward. Hey, minutia, some things were better, a lot was worse. 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. The word of the day today is expected for me. You should. I
said Iowa by double digits, but not 40 to 16.
I didn't have the score, but the result was expected. Iowa flexed. They were the more physical team. They exerted their will as the game went on, and we all should have seen that coming into this one. Nebraska got beaten where it matters in the Big Ten. That's on the lines of scrimmage. Should have seen it coming. Big changes needed this offseason, but it's another offseason of searching for answers coming up.
Bill, before we get to your word for the season and the game, Bartle by Jones, 2-4-3-8. Did he try calling YZ?
That name doesn't ring a bell, but maybe he did.
Well, call back.
He never called. He just said he tuned into us, and we're talking about the
We
referees.
spent like 2 minutes talking about the officiating.
But yeah, you're welcome to call in. You still can get into the stream, 489-1240. So, yeah, we've complained about the officiating. That call was horrible. It didn't cost the game. But it
changed the tone of the tenor of the game.
It changed things.
It's not the defining
Or it might have been delaying things.
It's a problem. The inevitable still happened.
Yeah, you lost.
And I would just like to see some transparency as to what
How do you
was
screw it
right,
up?
what was wrong, and at least I can accept when I see officials on the field. This team graded out to a 75 last week. Okay, but I would love an explanation as to why that was not targeting. I would love an explanation as to why that was not reviewed as targeting, if it was or wasn't. Officiating had zero to do with how this game transpired, but it sure has, in my mind, what the hell is targeting?
Okay. We can talk
Depends
about
on the crew, depends on the game.
It did change the tenor of the game that moment.
But we can talk about officiating in the Big Ten until we're blue in the face. We've been doing it for years. You got to expect that these guys are going to make bad calls.
Expect the worst.
I know, but again, what's the score? Who's the best ranked? We don't know. We know in the NFL who the best officiating crews are because they end up in the playoff and then they end up in the Super Bowl. Okay, I get that, but wouldn't it be great to at least know, oh boy, this crew here is not going to be very good. We can expect that they're going to have bad calls.
Yeah.
There's nothing in today's game that the officiating had anything to do with other than why in the hell wasn't targeting called, and that did change the tenor of the game at the moment. But it did not change what the outcome of the game was going to be.
Yes.
There's no complaining whatsoever about the officiating other than Ja'Cory Barney almost got his head taken off.
And it shouldn't have been a safety.
Yeah, but
word for the game, word for the season.
But before we get there, I do have, and I'll give you more time to think, Bill. Sorry, I'm jumping in here because something was on my mind. But we're asking questions about the refs. I have a lot of questions that I would like to get answered about why preseason Matt Rhule is saying this defensive line is going to be hell on wheels.
Trying to speak it into existence, Costanza style.
Why on earth it took 7 games for you to realize your best chance to win football games was to ride Emmett Johnson?
Because you want to be sexy, you want to do something that attracts high-level talent, and you're gonna sell it and hope it comes true. That's what you got right now. And defensively,
you have to know as a coach though what you have and what you are. And I don't think Nebraska preseason knew what they had and what they were, and I think it was a slap in the face to them.
They overpromised and underdelivered.
Can't do that.
No.
Bill, I'm sorry, Bill. Back to you.
And you can't honestly make. If I'm going to go revisionist here, forgive me for a second. with Tony White, I mean, I know he had some good days and bad days with Florida State, but defense looked a hell of a lot better last year than this year with different personnel, I understand. But, I mean, Tony White didn't want to stick around. You don't take that job laterally and pray to keep your job, which is what happened this year. I mean, there's got to be some internal things that made him want to go, all right, I don't know if Norvell's going to be around or not, but it sure as hell's better than taking that risk than staying here.
Well,
just so John Butler can get promoted.
With that, but also the Phil Snow thing, and we're going to bring in somebody to oversee you as the defensive coordinator and be my liaison, for.
And they were great in the secondary, but the front seven's a nightmare.
Well,
against anybody good.
Look, they lost 2 great players. Yeah, we talked about it last week. That how can you still be talking about that?
Because it's
11 games into the year that you lost the national tie. It's true, and it's been evident every game that it's a big deal, and it became really apparent in the Michigan game.
Word for the game, word for the season.
All right. I'm going to sidetrack myself. I hope people are still listening. There's two people I want to shout out to today. Bill Bryant is the press box PA announcer. He's
Love
Don
Bill.
Bryant's son. He is one of the most wonderful people. He and his wife Linda, son Asa, just great people. Don Bryant, the legendary Nebraska Sports Information Director many years ago, passed away several years ago. My former boss. Bill, 62 years today. Didn't retire. He said, I'm not retiring. He's just acknowledging that he's been doing this for 62 years. And so love Bill. And Vicky Capezzo, Vicky Cartwright, retiring. She's run the Nebraska Sports Information Office.
Retiring?
She's retiring. Today was her last game. She has been the rock of all people in the athletic department for more than 40 years. I worked with her. So God love them both. And I just want to say that. So if people know Bill and Vicky, give them a pat on the back. So my word for the season is relegation. Nebraska is, we don't have it the way they have it in European soccer, but Nebraska has really relegated itself into, I'm not going to say second, third, fourth tier, second tier status, firmly into the second tier status of the Big Ten. And they've got a hole to climb out of for relevancy. I'm watching, what's the guy at Georgia Tech? Is that Brent Peace? That's not it. The head coach at Georgia Tech.
Brent Key.
Brent Key, yeah. Brent Peace was a quarterback in Florida many years ago. That's a team that came out, when they beat Florida State in Ireland, said, we run the ball. And nobody said, well, we got to be sexy because we got to get all these 5 stars and we got to do all these special things. And all. No, I said, we're going to run the freaking ball. That's what we do. They don't run the triple option like they did with Paul Johnson years ago. But I'm watching them 13-3. They're down to Georgia. But that is a team that is an identity, and if you want to come play here and play physical football, this is what we do, okay? If you don't want to, go someplace with spas, and you can be treated really well for 2 or 3, maybe 4 years if you stick around, right? But if you want to play tough smash-mouth football, Atlanta, Georgia, and Georgia Tech is where you go to do it. And when we do that, we have a chance to beat the teams that are better than us. Nebraska used to do that back in the day, right? And they did it with players that were not highly regarded, highly recruited. Every now and then you ran into one. But for the most part, it was you bought into what we did, and that's the way it was going to be done, and you didn't ask questions, and we didn't tailor anything to suit your needs or your people's and posse's needs and make sure that you are marketed. You're going to come here and you're going to win football games, and you'll become a legend that way if you do it the way we're going to do it. And all you people who say it can't be done here, well, tough, because we did it. Relegation is this season. Nebraska is relegated second tier in the Big Ten. And resignation, I said it already. The empty seats at the end of the game, end of the third quarter, just awful sight. And thankfully, it's the last game of the season. But Nebraska fans, as I was walking over here to this wonderful facility, the Bar, this is a ghost town. Nebraska football used to be the thing to do. 7-8 times a year.
Now you feel obligated.
And now it's something to do.
Well, I was walking past some students waiting to get in the student section. It was a guy with a lady friend. I was going to say girlfriend. I don't know if it was or not, but with a lady friend. And she looked kind of cold pregame. And he looked at her and said, we'll leave once Nebraska goes down by 10 points. It wasn't if. It was once Nebraska goes down by 10, we'll leave. And I made a mental note of that, and I went, that's the mood of the student section going into this game.
Yeah.
Once Iowa takes a 10-point lead, we'll leave. Not only is that a sign you knew Nebraska was going to at some point trail by 10, but the implication is I know once Nebraska's down by 10, they're dead in the water.
Yeah, there's relegation and today resignation, and thankfully there's not another home game this season because next August or September, whenever the first home game is, that place will be packed.
Yep.
Pride of Fairbury's Bill Doleman, that's Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt, YZ, and it's been a Real Red Reaction powered by Slim Chickens here at the Bar, 16th and P. We invite you down and make it your stop at some point along your Black Friday night. Slim Chickens, of course, 14th at Old Shady, 84th in Pine Lake, and soon to be 84th in Adams. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning, 7:45-ish. with the weekend edition of the Average Joe Sports Show. Appreciate you, YZ, and Elijah and Bill. And thank you in the stream for your comments. Thank you for your phone calls here on Real Red Reaction. Back tomorrow and back Monday on KFOR.
And how about
big
this?
thanks to the bar and Seth and crew for having us.
The next time the Real Red Reaction Show will talk to you will be after a bowl game to be decided. I'm thinking it's Vegas, though.
I agree. Probably
Vegas it is.
Not Detroit.
Vegas? Let's get all the BYU fans to Vegas.
Here's the thing: do you want to get shot or robbed? get shot in Detroit, get robbed in Vegas.
One place does it legally.
At least I can get stabbed, walk to the sports book, and cash a ticket.
That's
Vegas.
right. Yeah. There's somewhere to go with that whole. Anywho, all right. Enjoy your Friday. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk next time here with Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens.